I'm not in agreement with that last place pick. I know people could I can understand why we only bringing back 5 scholarship players, but I do think that in many of these cases where we lost some undergraduate players for a variety of reasons, who we brought in has helped improve the team than what it was going to be like. I have to be that honest with you. I do like some of the players we have in relationship to what we had coming back prior to, if everybody would have stayed. I do feel like the one thing, the area that we're probably not going to be as strong at, I know that is interior scoring. I'm not saying that about rebounding. I'm not saying that about defense. But I'm saying that about interior scoring, that Imani Gant's scoring ability inside is going to be an area that we're going to be a little bit more deficient. On the flip side, I do think our perimeter game has gotten better. Kavin is a very good player, and I've liked what I've seen from him and the team in the summer and in the fall. And one thing my wife told me, and of course I think we sometimes should ask them questions more than me, is that she said, I don't believe that ranking because you're coming home and when I ask you how to go today in practice, you're telling me it went pretty good. A lot more often than you did in the past. When I say that, I'm talking about there's a work ethic that is the best we've had thus far. There is a team camaraderie that is the best we've had so far. There is the coachability factor, players listening, looking me eye to eye, working with us as coaches, the best we've had. Players like O.J. Black, I think, are going to be much more improved. I don't know, I can't remember the statistic offhand, but no turnovers in I forget how many games there at the end.
2 or less in the last 6 games.
Just 2 or less turnovers in the last 6 games. And if you look at our record against everybody, I think the only team that I would say, really struggled against was Louisiana Monroe. Little Rock beat us here in overtime last year. We lost to them by 6 at their place. UTA beat us soundly here, but if you go to their place, we had played them well. And at the conference tournament, if we had Ethan available to us, and I had a little bit of an attitude with one of my seniors that I sat down for a while, if we hadn't had that incident taking place, I think we could have pulled that off, because if I'm not mistaken, UTA kind of overtook us with about 6 minutes to go in the game. So I put a lot of emphasis on teamwork, effort, fundamentals, and all that. And this is the best team I've had in that regard, despite having 8 new players. I mentioned OJ, I mentioned Kavin. I think Kavin is one of the best shooting forwards in the league. He gets it. When I say that, he understands. I think he understands me and what I'm asking. I think OJ is in the same boat. I think Bobby Conley is a much improved player that is opening himself up. He did last year, but I mean completely opening himself up to coaching. And here's a player that I couldn't tell you I would say this even 6 months ago. But for example, an inter-squad scrimmage we had this past Saturday, Malcolm McCray led us in scoring and rebounding. Now, Malcolm is another one of those guys. I've asked those 5 scholarship players and the 1 walk-on that came by, help me coach. We have a lot of new guys. Help me coach. And you do that by executing, listening, being good players, and they have done a great job of that. So again, I'm not going to tell you that we should be picked 1st or 2nd. I wouldn't do that either, but I'm going to tell you that I think we're more of a middle-of-the-pack team in terms of talent, and then we are a last-place team. Time will tell, I know that, but I do think we are a middle-of-the-pack team. And again, I look forward to practice more than I ever have going into my 4th year here. And, it got better every year. Don't get me wrong. It got better every year. But this is by far the best work ethic team and the best coachable team. and they like each other. The camaraderie is very good. They're pulling for each other. With that said, I'll answer questions.
Coach, I know one of the challenges you had towards the end of last season was trying to find somebody to fill that point guard role and give OJ a rest.
Right.
Well, as you look at the depth of your point guard position going into this season, what does it look like?
Well, we picked up a freshman named Marlon Davis, and I do believe even OJ came to me and said, Coach, if I'm not a 35-minute-a-game guy. He says, OJ is a very smart, but he's just a reasonably good athlete. He's not a superior athlete. And, he wanted more rest, and we just couldn't afford to give him. I mean, OJ's one of those timeout players. I'm explaining what a timeout player is. When a player comes to you and says, Coach, I need a break, you call timeout so he can get his rest, and you don't take him out of the game. And that's what OJ was for us last year. Marlon Davis is going to give us more. We have more confidence in him to back up OJ Black. He was on 4 straight state championship teams at Westbury Christian. We probably wouldn't have him here if it were not for his relationship with Terrence Johnson, my assistant coach. Him and Nigel Pearson are 2 of the best freshmen we brought in. Our freshman class is good. They got a little growing up to do in terms of basketball, but their talent level is pretty good. It's overall the best freshman class we've had overall. So to answer your question, I wasn't looking for somebody to come in and go 20-20 with OJ. I was looking for somebody to maybe go, OJ 28, and that guy get 12, or OJ 26 and that guy get 14. And I'm a lot more confident that we can do that with Marlon. And I'm going to tell you something. I do not want to discount even Nathan Joseph's is for a walk-on, and I've been doing this with year 26 as a head coach. He's got to be one of my 4 or 5 best walk-ons I've ever had. And so there might even be a few minutes there. There will be probably a few minutes there also, in terms of answering your specific question.
Coach, you also come on and brought in some guys.
Yeah, Tyler Blount. I hope I said it, Blunt. Tyler Blunt is a very good shooter, and I tell you, Ethan had games that just were phenomenal. But what Ethan couldn't do is go get his own shot, if that makes sense. You had to get and Ethan was good at this. You had a screen for Ethan. He had to come off that pick and lose his man. I mean, he was never going to take his man off the dribble very much. And we're going to miss Ethan a lot. Even when he went out in the tournament, he was getting a charge. That's why he didn't play that last, tournament game, because he took a charge and hit his head so hard on the floor that I want to say they kept him from physical activity for the next 2 weeks. So the kid had a lot of toughness and guts about him. Ethan did. But Tyler Blount is a good shooter, very good shooter. All conference in the Western Texas region, which is a very tough junior college region. This past Saturday we had a scrimmage, and I want to say Tyler was 4 for 5 in the stats from the 3. And he can put it on the floor. He has quickness and athleticism that I think he can also, to some degree, create his shot more so than Ethan could. Off the dribble, yes. Okay.
You mentioned a moment ago about the low post.
Can I go back? Don't discount. I mean, who was the guard at Appalachian State that scored so much? Eves? Eves, I can't remember. Eves averaged like less than 5 points a game, I want to say, his sophomore year, and then he just exploded. Don't discount Courtney also. I mean, I don't think Courtney is there yet, but he's a much better player than last year. And like if Courtney was where he was at, where he is now, where he was last year, we would have got some good time out of him. That's going to be a pretty good battle. The Conley, Blunt, Courtney, Julian battle at least up to now, has been a pretty good battle.
Yeah, Coach, I was just saying, you mentioned a moment ago about Imani, of course, no longer being here, the low post scoring, there may be a hole there. But will that open things up for your motion offense?
Yeah, it is. And thank you for asking that question. I would think even if Kavin gets up here, he's going to tell you it's a motion offense, but it's not so post-oriented. You'll see more screens on the ball, okay? And not to say we didn't want to do that, but Imani didn't. He was not very good at that. He was very good in the low post and one dribble, and that's it. And we are doing some things differently in our what we called our offense. It was a 4-round-1, four perimeter players around Imani. I would not say that's the way you could describe it. It's more of a 5-man motion this year, particularly with Malcolm. And if we use Max Starwood in the post, particularly with him. But when you're talking about, then we have Eric. We have 3 legitimate 5s or centers, and we have Eric, Terry, and Emmanuel King. They're more your prototypical or your typical 5-man. They're more comfortable around the block. So Max is more of I can go outside or inside. Malcolm is the same way. I'm not going to let him shoot a bunch of quick threes, but on the same token, that's from 17, 18 feet, they're pretty good shooters. And you'll see some different things in our motion because of that. Whereas last year, Imani just kind of stayed on the block. We're using that post man to do some back screening and more screening for the perimeter guys. Popping out, not necessarily to shoot the ball, but just to reverse the ball and things like that. Yes.
Has OJ worked on his shot?
I think he I'm not going to let him stay in the gym and watch for 24 hours, but I tell him, you got to do that because last year people sat off of you. I still don't think you would call him an Ethan Montalvo 3-point shooter, but I think you would call him a more confident shooter. Particularly, I wouldn't even say he's a much better 3-point shooter, but it's certainly right at the line, right inside the line. He has not showed a hesitation to shoot it this year that he did last year. There were times last year I would tell OJ, you got to shoot the ball. They're sagging off of you, man. You got to shoot the ball. I told him that going into the summer that we can't have that problem this year. I don't think ball handling was an issue for us. I don't think point guard defense was an issue for us. I think point guard outside shooting was an issue for us last year. And so they would sag off him and almost play like a one-man zone.
Coach, what have the changes in the shot clock last year do to the game of college basketball, particularly for what you wanted to do offensively and defensively? Defensively going for 35.
Well, players have always come to me and said, Coach, do you run? And my reply to them was, yes, do you? Running. Players running, there's 2 different things. You actually have a game where you can get down the floor, and if you beat the other team down the floor, you can get a good shot. Or I think sometimes players confuse running with, can I shoot the ball when I want to? And the 30-second clock makes you get down the floor quicker. And I think it's even going to make you use the screen on the ball, handoff more, in terms of getting mismatches and all that. I've told the guys, really, if we're going to run, if there is no fast break there, you're talking probably 5 or 6 passes tops. Tops. And somebody's going to have to either get a shot off that 5th or 6th pass, or they're going to have to try to go one-on-one. And I'm not sure how much it improved the scoring. I want to hear, I don't know if you know that, Phil, how much scoring improved in NCAA basketball last year, but I want to say, it was 2 or 3 points a game. That was it. I don't know if they were talking about making the game more exciting. I don't know if as a fan would say, okay, now the average team is averaging 72.5 points a game versus 70. I'm not sure how much more the crowd's going to come for 2.5 or 3 points more a game. So
with 8 newcomers, is there any concern about shot discipline?
There's always concern about that when you get even 4 newcomers, 5 newcomers, because I've told those 8 newcomers that, 4 of you got to help us. 4 of you got to help us. Maybe, I'm even going to say 5. I want a 9-man rotation. Last year we were sitting at 7, primarily. 7-man rotation, and that got to us, particularly, Bill, y'all remember some trips. I think we did 2, did we do 2 weeks? Did we do 2 back-to-back trips, road trips last year? I know we did 1 where we were on the road, we come back, we go back on. And this is where the depth is really going to help you. This conference is spread out very far. And as you well know, traveling to, going to Georgia Southern after you land at Atlanta, it takes a lot out of you. And now going to Appalachian State or Coastal Carolina is probably going to even be more of a task. Going to Atlanta is not an issue because you fly right there in Atlanta. But if you want to go to South Alabama or Troy, you fly into a major airport. I guess Mobile is not. We did fly into Mobile, didn't we? Yeah, Mobile is not an issue. But going to Troy, if you have them first, you fly and then you bus 2 hours. That's a lot for young men and women to do that. If you don't have but 7 players playing, you really have to have a tough 7 guys, 7 or 8, and then now and then you get those nicks, those injuries that may stop somebody from playing at 100%. So that's the biggest thing for me as a coach, is realizing how much the travel in this league can be a problem. It really is. Football, let me tell you guys, football, I love football, but I'm going to tell you, my guys, and I think Coach Z's girls, and maybe volleyball and baseball, when you have to travel like that, if you're going to win, you better be very talented or pretty tough. Because we're not chartering. We're flying commercial.
So what's the key to handle that kind of crowd?
We just really gotta watch how hard we push them. The day before the game, maybe even the day before we travel. You gotta watch how hard you push them.
On that note, is there a big adjustment now for your conference game between Saturday and Sunday?
Well, that's the most, that's going to be the most negative thing I have to talk about. Monday is, look, you go to everybody takes off Friday now if they're some kind of professional. I don't know about you guys, but try finding a doctor on Friday. Try finding a dentist on Friday. Okay? They work hard hours on Monday. They may stay to 6:30 on Monday, and they may do that on Tuesday. But Friday they're not there. And so, I just think it was a very big mistake for the Sun Belt to go Saturday, Monday. I can leave it like it is, double headers. And I just think the crowd, the ability to attract crowds on Mondays is going to be much more difficult for everyone. So.
What about the schedule overall, Coach? I know you don't want to go through game by game, but just in a general sense, your non-conference schedule and then how the Sun Belt lines up.
Well, you're talking about Sun Belt. Well, our schedule. Let's talk about our schedule. Our own schedule is, obviously we have Tulane and Tulsa. Both of those are late games, almost at the end of the semester. And some of that is by design, and some of it is just that those opportunities came up. We have a 6-year contract with UTSA, a 4-year contract with A&M Corpus Christi. We're in the final year of a contract with Rio Grande Valley, final year of a 2-year contract with McNeese, and a final year of a football basketball package Dr. Tice put together for Prairie View. And so we're going to be seeing 3 opponents. Probably we're going to not play them for a while, and that's Prairie View, McNeese, and Rio Grande Valley. We are even trying to keep games within reasonable driving distance and travel distance, and so we go into Texas, may even go to Oklahoma and Louisiana, Arkansas. But you're taken out of a lot of schools unless you play the Southland because no Big 12 school and many of the Conference USA schools, for example, UTEP. UTEP pays us a good sum of money to go there, and I don't put Conference USA any higher than us, but they paid us a great amount of money to go there. And, we'll go there again for that kind of money, in which it's just a quick flight here. To stay close to home and get home and homes is very difficult. It's very difficult in this league, unless you're going to play a lot of Southland schools. And our goal is not to play 3 or 4 Southland schools every year. It's maybe 1 or 2. So we've called the North Texases and other Conference USA schools within reasonable driving distance. There is some interest in some, and some said no to us, scheduling wise. As far as talking about our conference schedule, I'll be honest with you, Bill. I am not sure. I know we start off at home against, I believe, App State in Coastal Carolina, and that's about as far as I can go.
UTA is picked to win it.
UTA is a very good team. They have the young man who tore his knee up last year, and even I want to say he tore it up in the first probably 4 to 6 games of conference play, and he already had pro scouts going to every game. I mean, the young man is a very good basketball player, and so that's his second knee surgery. So I don't know, if he's going to be as effective. But prior to his knee surgery, second surgery, I mean, he was doing some phenomenal things on tape. They have a great little point guard. They have some really good shooters on the wings. They're a very good team. They should be picked first. Outstanding coaching staff there also. And I want to say Little Rock was picked second, if I'm not mistaken. I think there's a little bit of they have some good players there, but obviously new staff and everything. So remember last year, guys. I want to tell you this. I want to say Little Rock was picked like 7th or 8th last year. I want to say that, maybe even 9th. But when they hired Coach Beard, I knew they weren't going to finish that low. I knew that. I felt like they were underrated badly by all the coaches in our league. So to talk about the different teams, Monroe lost a lot of good players, but they have a couple of them, 2, 3 of them good back. I thought Monroe was a very good basketball team last year. Lafayette lost Sean Long and a few players, but they still have a good group back. Between Little Rock and I think Georgia State. Georgia State has a unique situation. All the players from Atlanta, which there are a lot, that go out to these big schools, and then for whatever reason it doesn't work out, a big option for them is come home to Atlanta and go to Georgia State. And so, I know he lost some good players. He has the one kid, I think, that transferred from Indiana is going to be a senior this year. But he lost some other good players, so it's going to be interesting to see what everyone's new players do to fill in. Georgia State's been very complimentary of our program to us about the way we defend them. Even R.J. Hunter, after his last game with us, he said, "Coach, no one defends us and me like you do." And Kavin Tilbury was the man I put on, R.J. Hunter. I want to say you were a sophomore when he was a senior. And, so going back to our team, we have to defend. We're not as good offensively as some of these top-tier teams. But on the other hand, I think perimeter-wise, we're a better team, perimeter speaking, than we have been in the past. I know we are better than the first 2 years I was here. The question is, can we replace Ethan's shooting? We have OJ and Kavin on the perimeter. We have a young man we have 2 3-man. Let me just tell you this, Nigel Pearson is probably, it's either him or Kavin have been the most influential freshman coming in. And right now, if I had to go to war today, I'd probably start him as a freshman at the 3. However, he's getting some good competition from a junior college transfer who was first team all conference in the Northern League, Darius Duncan. So, I mean, there's some good depth at the 3. There's some good depth, better depth at the 1, and some pretty good depth at the 2. If y'all remember, I think we played Ethan. I'm trying to think who played the 2 behind Ethan last year. It was Bobby, but I bet Bobby, until the last maybe 8 games of the year was maybe only getting 10 minutes a game, maybe 10 or 12. And then the last, I want to say 7, 8 games of the year, Bobby was really getting up there in minutes, the 20. And of course he had a phenomenal tournament, 2-game tournament. So he's been a very good leader for us also.
First your 4th year, you mentioned make sure you guys have progressed. Is there any added pressure this year to get over that hump and get above 500?
The greatest pressure is on myself. You can ask my wife that; she'll vouch for that. Dr. Tice has been very good. Don Coryell is who is my immediate supervisor. Has been very good. Last year we counted 7 games that could have gone either way, and I just said, if you win 3, less than half of those games, you're 18-13. And not so much at Incarnate Word, but at Stephen F. That year 3 was when we flipped it. So it was very frustrating that we weren't there. And you get a sense of this, and that's what I had, privately in my own mind, I thought 18-13 is a very attainable goal. With the idea of course, win at least 1 game in a tournament was, try to win them all, but at least win 1. And again, I still say, even though Bobby played well against UTA, not having Ethan, and then of course, like I said, without going into names, we had a discipline issue that I set someone out my way. I mean, you got to stand up for your principles. So.
Coach, do you think the Spurs will win tonight?
Huh?
The Spurs?
We'll win tonight. Well, since I love Coach Popovich, I'd like to say yes, but that's a tough one to call. Golly, Duncan. I'm sorry. Steph Curry, and those guys, and then they add Durant. I mean, that's going to be a lot of hype. You gonna watch it? Really, the emphasis will be, I do think we have a non-conference schedule where we can win a good most of these games if we're healthy and we're buying in. But the emphasis is going to be getting ready for conference play. Getting our offense and defense finally tuned, and figuring out, because you can have some guys do some great things in practice, and then you put that pressure on them in a game, and they're not the same player. So you really don't find some things out sometimes until you put them underneath the lights with referees and everything. So getting that rotation down, and we certainly want to win, games, and hopefully developing a 9-man rotation.
Yes, it's definitely motivation. At the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything to me, as long as we could go out and compete and just work hard, and wherever we end up, it's happy. I'll be happy, and my career here will be good. I'll be happy.
You played all 4 years with Coach Kaspar as a leader. What's it been like after the past 4 years? From the very beginning, it was kind of rebuilding to this moment.
It's been up and down for sure. I learned a lot from Coach Kaspar. He taught me how to be a better player, how to be a man. He taught me what it takes to work hard and not working at your own pace. But a lot of things changed with Coach Kaspar in the program. He was very assertive in what he wanted, and as a young player, I probably had my bad days also, but he always preached to me with maturity, and I had to grow up and realize the world doesn't revolve around me all the time. So yeah, it changed a lot. I would definitely say he's a little bit more nicer now. I mean, I don't really. It's,
He said when he was at Coach Kaspar, he was up there that this team right now, the camaraderie, the work ethic,
Right.
is something the best he's seen in his career since he's been here. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I definitely agree with that. These guys, they understand how important it is to come and practice every day and listen and work hard. Like you said, like Nigel, Marlon, they get it right now. As for freshmen, we're always laughing outside of practice in the locker room. We're always just hanging out with each other, and we already did a team activity going golfing. That was fun. Most of us never been golfing, so just those little things to bring us together will help us on the court also.
Who are some of the new faces that are kind of sticking out to you?
Say it again.
Some of the new faces that are kind of sticking out to you.
Nigel Pearson, he's really good. He gets it. He understands the game. Like Marlon, he's a really good point guard. He can really handle the ball. He can really take criticism when coaches on him. Even Neja, he's really talented. He can shoot the ball. He can dribble some. He's kind of like myself. Well, Tyler can really shoot the ball. So everybody has their little things that they do well. So.
I kind of feel like you're more of a leader this year with Damani Danton, even Paul, so many new guys coming in.
Yes, coaching staff's always preached to me. I got to lead this team on and off the court, not even with my scoring or my ability, just being mentally tough and encouraging these guys that it's not always going to be green on the other side, or we're going to have our bad days. Is how we bounce back from those days is going to make us define us as a team. So.
You got pretty high praise from your coach when he was talking to me about one of the best shooting forwards in the league. What does that mean to you, and would you agree with it?
Definitely agree with it. It just means a lot that he trusts me. I put in a lot of time in the gym on the gun. My goal is to continue to be consistent and hopefully finish on a higher team. The third team really, I don't feel like there's 10 people in the league that's better than me, but it is what it is, and hopefully I can go out there and compete and prove myself and my team.
Kavin, when you see the preseason polls come out and including pick division 12, as a player, what message does that send to you, and how do you approach with that kind of, for lack of a term, slight going into the season?
Just my approach is being more assertive, being more aggressive, telling my young guys that each possession counts, each game matters, and just telling them that doesn't mean anything because freshmen don't really understand those preseason rankings, and just as a player, just continue to just be honest. I don't really know the word I'm looking for. Motivation, yeah. Just motivated to just win some games. I don't know really. That's the big goal for all of us. So.
How much has your game changed? It seems like the freshman year was a year ago, but here we are 4 years later. How much have you evolved as basketball player between you?
I feel like I got become a better player, smarter player. With me, myself, I feel like it wasn't all working harder, but working smarter. I try to focus on the little things like Coach Kaspar wanted me to. Just learning the game more and like learn when to cut, when to back cut, what's a good shot for me in my game, and being consistent, like I said, that's the biggest thing for me, and just playing at the high level like I know I can.
Kavin, I know you guys still have a couple of weeks before the regular season opener. If you had the power and you could pinpoint a couple of things that this team needs to improve upon from today until that season opener, what are those couple of things that need to be fixed a little bit?
Like Coach Kaspar said, just growing up. We got a lot of young guys. They still have their bad habits, those days where they think that high school stuff they were doing or the JUCO stuff they were doing can work in Division I at this level. So just with that and just the little things too, the going to class on time, being on time to different events we have to attend, and just at the end of the day, it's Texas State across our chest, so we have to represent Texas State men's basketball every day, on and off the court. So that's the biggest thing.
How is, you've been around a while, how has Sun Belt Conference men's basketball changed in the time you've been here? You know, you're out on the floor, we're all up on the stands thinking we know what's going on.
Right. I mean, it changed. Our team is, our conference is very talented. We have several talented guys, young guys, the seniors. What's the correct? I don't know.
This is, you know, game in and game out.
Right.
As you watch your opponents,
Right.
you know, those other teams, how has it changed for the good, the worse?
It changed for the good, I guess. At the end of the day, it's all about preparation and preparing for every game, and watching film and just knowing what guy can do what. Throughout the years, there's been several players that there's games where he's just shooting the ball, we can't do nothing. He's shooting great, the team's shooting great, and we can't do nothing about it. So it's just competing, being prepared, staying focused for 40 minutes of the game, and hopefully we got the win without them.
You and your teammates, how are you guys approaching the trip to Hawaii?
We're approaching it very seriously because we want to win, of course. I'm teaching these young guys that we got to be ready just because it's going to help us for conference. Hawaii, we play Southern Illinois, Evansville, and we need to be prepared. And we can't take any days off because our conference is tough, and we need to be prepared for those tough late-minute games because we lost a lot of last-minute games, and we need to be ready for those minutes and those tough times.